Bitcoin crossing the $70,000 mark for the first time on Friday. This morning, it's now above $72,000. Joining us right now to talk Bitcoin is Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy Executive Chairman. An 8K out from the company this morning, revealing it just bought more than $800 million in Bitcoin. As of the end of last month, his company held about 200,000 Bitcoins. And Michael, I want to thank you for joining us. You have been early and courageous, and you continue to double down. I want to talk about where you think Bitcoin is, but also want to talk about how you think about MicroStrategy and your company as a proxy for Bitcoin now that ETFs are available to the public.
Sure. Well, I think I'd start just with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is certainly at least digital gold. It's going to eat gold. It's got all of the great attributes of gold, and it's got none of the defects of gold. If you could teleport gold from New York to Tokyo in a few minutes, people would like it. It's going to divert capital from risk assets and risk ETFs like SPY, and you can see that these ETFs are doing that. It's going to be incorporated into a lot of funds like the BlackRock Global Opportunities Fund or the Strategic Income Opportunities Fund. And so as it's an asset class. As it goes into other funds, it's going to become structural. The halving is going to cut the organic supply of natural sellers in half around April 20th. That means there's only about $32 million a day of natural sellers. And the price of Bitcoin is going to have to adjust up in order to meet that investor demand. So I think that's what's going to happen next to the asset class.
In terms, though, of how investors should think about your company, and right now I think they think of your company as a proxy for Bitcoin. It was a way for investors, frankly, who didn't want to buy the underlying coins to get access to Bitcoin and exposure to Bitcoin. The question now, though, that these ETFs have been approved and folks are funneling money towards BlackRock and so many others, how should they think about your company versus doing that?
Yeah, so BlackRock is like the container ship or the super tanker of Bitcoin. They can take $1 billion a day into their capital structure, and they can hold that very efficiently, 25 basis points. MicroStrategy is like air freight. We got higher performance. So what's going on here? MicroStrategy's got leverage. If we borrowed $800 million at 62 basis points, is there any company in the world that you wouldn't like to invest in that could borrow $1 billion at less than 1% interest to invest in your best idea? So we get that very intelligent leverage. It's non-recourse, it's unsecured, and then we buy Bitcoin with it. That leverage gives us volatility. It gives us performance. The performance gives us volatility. The volatility attracts capital, and we can then leverage more. It's kind of intelligent because it's convertible debt. It's given our shareholders more Bitcoin per share this week than they had a few weeks ago. So it's very accretive for them. And it's pretty compelling for every investor. If you're Bitcoin curious right now and you want to buy Bitcoin at the all-time high, how do you get the upside in Bitcoin with downside protection? MicroStrategy sold $800 million in debt, and we have $13 billion of Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So we're giving you an over-collateralized loan and the upside. But if you're a Bitcoin maximalist and you love Bitcoin and you want to hold it forever, the ETFs charge you 25 basis points. MicroStrategy is accreting. We're giving you a yield against your shares in a tax-efficient fashion. So the maximalists like the equity. The hedgers, they kind of like the upside with downside protection. The traders love the vol. You know, we've got 100 vol asset here, and they just like the vol. So we're unique because you can't really trade options on the ETFs. And an ETF isn't going to issue a convertible bond with upside to Bitcoin, but downside protection.
So Michael, I try to understand the mathematics, and I know people like you went to MIT, and it just seems maybe it's more understandable for you or Andreessen or Peter Thiel or whatever. At 17, down from 68, and you know your leverage and everything else. Did you ever wake up in the middle of the night and have any doubt whatsoever. That's my one question, because I was thinking about you at 17,000, and now I look at it now, and it's I just can't believe what the market cap of your company is based on it now. I guess, and the other thing is, when it halves, should we, if we look at it on stock to flow, do we have to just double what the potential price is based on, if you use that metric? Is that a valid metric to use? And after the halving, shouldn't it be 140,000 immediately if it's worth 72 now?
Two good questions, and thanks for asking me. First, with regard to Bitcoin, no, there's no doubt in my mind Bitcoin was a better investment at 17,000 than it was at 65,000. I take the Warren Buffett view on this. Bitcoin's a superior investment to gold, equity, bonds, and real estate because it's digital. You can trade it 1 million times faster than conventional assets using a computer. It's available. Most other assets only trade less than 20% of the time. Bitcoin's trading 168 hours a week. We bought $800 million of Bitcoin, and a lot of it we bought over the weekend when all the conventional markets are closed. It's global. It's the most widely recognized and trusted investment asset in the world right now. It's ethical because it's the king of all commodities. There's no issuer. There's no company. There's no country controlling it. And fundamentally, it's useful. Thousands of market makers can trade it all the time. Millions of companies can trade it. Billions of people. If you want to buy a house on Saturday in Africa, this is the way to do it. If you want to buy a car on Sunday morning, this is the way to do it. So it's a pretty great asset. It's the greatest of the assets, in my opinion. There's no second best asset. So I didn't have any question about it. We're just waiting for the rest of the world to realize how good it is.